Okay, we are live. Hello, Carleen. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing okay. You guys know me. I'm Nancy Quinn. Previously, Nancy Ganzikoffer. Still find me on nancyganzikoffer.com for my website, which we are going to be changing shortly. I keep saying that, but we haven't gotten it up and running yet. So we will do that soon. And I am here today with Colleen LeMay from C2 Accounting, my bookkeeper, and she can be yours too. So tell us what we're talking about, Colleen.
So, today we're talking about financial reports because financial reports hold all the mysteries of your business finances. I know, don't make that face. It's
Oh,
not
I
that
hate
bad.
financial reports. You know
No,
that.
no, you're setting a bad example. Bad financial reports are not bad when you know what you're looking at, right?
That
And
is
once
true.
you do, you can understand and use that information to make decisions. But you might actually start to geek out on it and really enjoy the process.
You know what? You're
She's like, if
actually,
you say so, I don't know.
yeah, I'm thinking about that one. I actually think you're right. It's kind of what I tell everybody on the marketing side, right? You hate social media. I hate it too. But when it starts bringing you business, suddenly you like it, right? When
Exactly.
you're looking at your financial reports and you actually know how to read them and you're making good decisions based on them, you might actually like them better.
Yeah, yeah. Set up a little schedule, once a month, have a little bit of wine, light a candle, make it a ritual.
Get in the bathtub and drown your
You
financial
okay,
reports.
okay, that's taking it a bit far. But yes, you know what I mean? I have found though, seriously, that sometimes romanticizing things or ritualizing them makes them not so bad and not so scary. It's just like you kind of look forward to it because it's combined with something pleasurable, and so maybe you'll do it more often.
Yeah, you're anchoring it. That's a good
Yes,
idea.
that's
So,
the
all
word.
right.
Angry. I like that word.
All right. So tell me why they're important. So all the interior designers know why they should be looking at them and then what we should be looking for.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about three separate reports. We're going to talk about your profit and loss statements, your balance sheets, and your cash flow statements. We're going to do a little bit of a show and tell.
Ooh, okay.
All
All
right, so
right.
I'm going to share my screen,
Okay.
and then you'll see me looking over here because this is where the other monitor is. But this is our sample company in QuickBooks. And so when you look at financials, those are the three reports that you typically look at that I mentioned: profit and loss, balance sheet, and cash flow. When we send reports to our clients, we're sending a PDF. So, yes, it's great. I'm glad you get it, you see it, but it's not clickable. You can't go in and go, well, what's making up this $10,000 here? I'm not sure. So this is why you want to also understand how to go and navigate these reports in QuickBooks in addition to what you're getting from your bookkeeper. Cool?
Okay. So let me clarify that for everyone, which means when I tell you as my client, I say, share your QuickBooks with me so I can see, you need to know your password and how to sign
Yes.
in. Okay.
Let's
So a
start
lot, and
there.
I'm saying that, you know what, Colleen, because the truth is that once you have a bookkeeper, sometimes they go, well, they handle that. I don't even need to know how to get into my QuickBooks. I never even go into my QuickBooks. And I think that's
Right.
a mistake, right? So step
Exactly.
one is know how to sign into your own QuickBooks. And then step two is what you're showing us. Start to learn what reports to look at regularly so you understand them.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to go with the first one, which is going to be your profit and loss. Now, QuickBooks is always changing their user interface, so your QuickBooks may look slightly different than this one,
Okay.
but typically the navigation is going to be similar. Somewhere on the left, you will be able to go to reports. So we're going to go down to reports, and we're going to go to standard. These are standard reports that everyone has. They're not custom. I haven't changed anything. Usually, profit and loss is going to, balance sheets are going to be starred as favorites because automatically out the box. So let's start with profit and loss. And because this is a sample company, I want to just do all dates just so you can see everything that's in here. So the profit and loss statement is going to have your income, your cost of goods sold, then your operating expenses, and finally that bottom line, which we're all hoping is a positive number that we're actually making money. So if we look at our sample company here, I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger. Okay.
I don't know if I can. Let me try. I might be able to make it
Actually, I'm
bigger
going to try to make it a little bit bigger on my side.
if I eliminate us from the screen just while you're
Awesome.
showing this. We
I
could do
think
that.
that's even better. Yes. So
Okay.
In this client's case, we see the different types of income that they have, totaling 66,000. They have cost of goods sold of only 1,100, which means their gross profit. So you want to see your profit margins is 64,000, which is great. Obviously, not realistic. And then they have their operating expenses, which in QuickBooks usually will just say expenses. You have your things like your accounting, your advertising, payroll, all of those things. In this
Mhm.
particular example, 17,000, which means they had a net income of 47,000. Basic, nice report. Here's where the magic can happen because in this particular report, you can customize it. You can look at it on a yearly basis.
Mm.
Like, I want to know how has my business grown year over year? I can look at it that way. I can look at
Mm.
it on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis. But one of my favorites, so when I say that I nerd out on this, I totally nerd out on this, is to go to compare another period. And there's a little box here that says percent of income. So we're going to click this box and then I'm going to hit run report. What this does is shows you
Oh.
a percentage of where things are coming from and where they're going. Meaning,
Ooh.
we already said we have $66,000 worth of income. Now we're showing you that what makes up that 66,000. Well, in this case, 67% comes from services.
Mm.
Another 17% came from design income. This person has 5% in coaching income. So you can kind of see, you know, where is the money coming from? So if you have multiple business lines, you're trying to decide where should I put my marketing dollars? Where should I spend most of my energy? It will help to know what's actually already making you money. Because what
Yes.
if I think my Square sales are going to be what's driving my business, right? And then I run this report and I realized Square is only 0.5%. Well, I've wasted all this energy building a Square platform that isn't actually doing anything for me. So
Yes.
let's go down a little bit further. Cost of goods sold in this example is only 2%. We both know that's not realistic.
Right.
But for this person, it's lovely. So if you keep going, you now see this person spent 3% of their income. So now these percentages here are percent of this of this income. So out of the 66,000, this 2,000 represents 3% of that. So they spent
Mhm.
3% of their income on accounting. They spent 10% on
Interesting.
salaries and wages, 4% on taxes. This helps you to see where the money is going. Because if you're kind of like, I'm making money, but I don't know where it's going, this
Yes.
report is a good place to start.
Okay. I love it.
Questions before we move to balance sheet?
No, I think this is interesting. Just tell everyone again who's come on late that you go to reports on your QuickBooks,
Yes, you're going to go to reports, standard reports,
profit and loss,
profit and loss,
and
and
then show the
then
percentage again.
right. So if you want to do
Right.
that, you under compare another period, you drop down, hit percent of income, or run report, and you have this beautiful report that shows you. I'm going to give us more data, but it shows you all the of your income and
As a
where
what
the money is
percentage?
going.
Love it.
Okay,
Okay.
so now we're going to pivot and we're going to go to the balance sheet. So in case you don't know, whereas the profit and loss shows you for a time period, in this case, we're looking at the year, it shows you all of your income and your expenses. Your balance sheet shows you um, it's like a snapshot of your business at any given time. It is
Mm-hmm.
going to show you your financial position, what you own, what you owe, and then your equity, which is the difference literally between what you own and what you owe.
Mm-hmm.
So for this person, as of April 30th, their cash account, they has 170 in cash. Maybe this is a petty cash box they have inside the office. They had $26,000 in their checking account, so their total cash from bank accounts was 26,000. And you see this, it says current assets. Current
Mm-hmm.
assets means anything you can quickly convert to cash, which obviously cash and things in your bank account you can. And accounts receivable. So they have $23,000 worth of accounts receivable. So in this case, if this person could collect all of that, their cash number doubles. So also, this is one of those things where you're like, I'm making sales, but if you're not collecting your money,
Yes.
it doesn't make a difference. You've got to convert those sales into cash. So making sure that you're closing things out so you can get paid and that you're billing. Because I've seen lots of interior designers do work on an hourly basis. So maybe they have their fees for the actual procurement, but maybe their project management, for example, could be an hourly base fee. And
Mm-hmm.
because they're so busy, they don't actually invoice. That is money sitting on the table. Let's make sure we're invoicing as quickly as possible, converting that into actual dollars in the bank. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So we're going to go down some other assets like undeposited funds. Now, on this bottom section, this is liabilities. Liabilities are things that you owe. So in this case, accounts payable. This is a negative number because this is a sample company. If you have your books and you have any negative numbers on here, you might want to look at it because it's probably wrong. The only time you would see a negative number if it's like an accumulated depreciation, but anything negative is probably not right. You might want to talk to a bookkeeper to figure out why there are
Okay.
negative numbers. So we talked about accounts payable. You have your credit cards that you owe, and then other liabilities would be loans,
Okay.
taxing authorities, so where you're having to pay sales taxes. So in this case, this person had a total of $51,000 in assets, only $2,500 in liabilities, which is really good, which means their equity is the difference. And so in this case, what is equity? Equity are things like owner's investment, the money you put into your business to get it started. It's retained earnings, which is something you see it's not clickable
Mm-hmm.
because this is a QuickBooks automated account. So what they do is every year, at the end of the year, January 1, they take your profit or your loss for the previous year and roll into this account. So that's just cumulative. And then this is net income for the year, which is what the number we saw on the first page.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
One thing I want to say about the balance sheet, it is a snapshot. So it's just as of whatever the date is, one.
Okay.
And two, this equity section is cumulative. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times you'll see owners draws on here, and someone will go, I did not take out $150,000 in owners draws. Well, not this year, but since you've had QuickBooks, that's the accumulated amount that you've taken out. If you want to see what it was for that year, you can click on it and then just sort it for the year and see. But that is a cumulative amount.
And this is which number?
You don't see it on here, but
Oh,
it's called owner's draws. So when you're taking
owner's draw.
draws,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
So the other thing I want to talk about really quickly is on the profit and loss. It shows how much money you've made, but that doesn't take in consideration cash you've taken out of the business as an owner. So remember that if, let's say, your net income for the year was 15,000,
Mm-hmm.
but you've taken out 30,000 to pay yourself, that's going to impact the amount of cash that you have. You won't see that on your profit and loss statement, but it definitely will be you will feel that pinch, right, in your cash. So you want to understand how much am I making, but also how much am I taking out, and how does that impact cash, which leads us to the last report, our cash flow statement. Any
Okay.
questions about balance sheets before we move over to cash flow?
No, but this is stuff that always makes my mind melt. So I
But
get why it's important to keep keep learning about this stuff.
right.
Like it
And here's the thing, Nancy, and I've told you this because you are our client,
yeah.
you cannot break QuickBooks. You can't
But
go
I
in.
have tried.
Okay, yes, you have tried and you've come close, but did you
I've come
break it?
close.
No.
I did not.
You did
Thankfully,
not.
Carleen, and you saved the day. So yes.
But I say that to say, I think sometimes people are afraid that if they click on something, that somehow they're going to mess it up. Now, if you're in there
Yes.
actually typing numbers, yes, you can mess things up. But if you're just clicking around and just trying to understand the reports, you cannot break it. So I implore people to go in and understand their books because it is their books. It's not your
Yes.
bookkeeper's. I have my own set of books, so I'm looking at my numbers too, right?
Right.
As a business owner, so you need to understand your numbers.
Yes.
And then ask questions. Schedule those meetings with your bookkeeper so that you know if something doesn't make sense, keep asking questions until it does. Because sometimes you have to hear it 2, 3, or 4 times before it clicks.
Absolutely.
And we've had this conversation before.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not the
And
first
you've had
time.
the same conversations with me 2 or 3 or 4 times because it takes time when your brain doesn't. And as a business coach, I still have trouble understanding sometimes where these numbers come from. So it's important
Mhm.
for me to have you to be able to explain this. This is your expertise, right? So this is very helpful.
Okay, so we talked about profit and loss. We've talked about balance sheet, and now we're going to do our last report, which is cash flow statement.
Okay.
So again, we're going to go to reports, standard, and this one is not favorited in this one, so I'm going to type it in. Statement of cash flows. What this does, it just shows you the ins and the outs of cash. So if you're like, well, I've made QuickBooks says I made $50,000 in profit, but my bank account only has $300, right?
Right.
Where is the money going? This report will help you to understand that.
Okay.
So I'm going to do all dates again, just because there's not a lot of data in here. So it shows you um, at the very bottom, it shows you cash. Where's my thing? Cash at the beginning of the period. Oh, because it's okay, let me change it to another date. So custom, because this is all of it. There's no starting number. Okay. So cash at the beginning of the period. So for January 1, there was 28,000 for this particular company.
Okay.
They had 26,000 in net income.
Okay.
Their accounts receivables increased by 26,000, which is, believe it or not, that's an actual drag on your cash because you're making sales, but you're not seeing the cash go in. That's why it's a negative number.
Right.
They paid some AP, some accounts payable, so that took down cash by 300. And then they accrued accounts payable for the state, so they had an invoice that they owe taxes on, but they haven't paid it yet. So it's the cash is still in their account. They received the payment from the client, but they haven't paid the state yet.
Mm-hmm.
So these are all the inflows and the outflows. So it started with 28,000. The net change for the period was 400, and so they ended up with 27.9.
During
Okay,
this period, January through
during this
December
period.
2025. Right. Okay. For
Exactly.
the cash flow.
So if I changed the date to 2024, so same thing, you'll see the cash started at 1,700, and this gives you a lot more activity of different things in and out.
Right. That
And
happened over
so,
that,
yep.
that
And so
2-year
now the
period.
cash at the end of the period is 27,000. So
Okay.
if you're ever really confused, but like, I know I'm making money, I just don't understand where the cash is going, this is a good report to look at, especially if you're paying off loans, because
Mm-hmm.
payments to loans are not going to show up on your profit and loss, but that's
Mm.
cash that's leaving the business.
Okay.
Payments on your credit card. So if you charge something on your credit card in 2024, the expense showed up in 2024, but if you don't make those payments until 2025, the cash is leaving the door in 2025. So that's going to have an impact on cash today, right?
Right.
So um, if I'm taking money out, paying myself, as you should, as a business owner, you should reward yourself for working in your business. That's not going to be part of your profit and loss, but it's going to come out. If you have a card note, that's not going to show up in your profit and loss, but that $900 a month card note, which comes out regardless, and it's going to be reflected on the cash. So these are the things you want to take a look at.
And I think this is where people get so confused. You always think your profit and loss statement is going to match your bank account. It
I
doesn't
wish
do
it
that.
was the case, but that's not the
I
case.
know. So between your profit and loss, your balance sheet, and your cash flow statement, is that what it was
Yep.
called?
Either statement of cash flow statement. You'll see it kind of both ways.
Okay. So the moral of this story is if you didn't watch from the beginning, please go back to my YouTube channel and go watch this one because it's information packed about how, as interior designers, you should be looking at your books, your QuickBooks, on a regular basis and starting to learn what the numbers mean so you can make better decisions when planning for growth or change in your company.
And I want to make an action offer to those who are listening. Even if we're not your bookkeeper, if you're trying to do this on your own, we've talked before, we'd be happy to do a diagnostic review and tell you the status of your books. But if you just want someone to sit down with you for an hour and just go over your books and explain the reports one on one, we could do that as well. We do consulting, and we could do that on an hourly basis as well.
Awesome. Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. What if someone just wants a lesson?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that as well. Though we do charge for it, we could do it.
Of course, but it's well worth it because the knowledge you gain on these particular items in your business will be knowledge you have forever, and it will help you make better decisions so that you're not messing up the growth of your company by making hasty decisions, right?
Yeah, and it's specific to your business, which may be a bit more meaningful than just a generic example like we did here today.
Definitely, definitely. So, all right. Thank you, Carleen. This was
You are
really helpful. All right. So anyone who is looking for a bookkeeper, not just interior designers, you are a bookkeeper for other service-based businesses as well, but
We are.
you really have a heavy foot in the interior design industry and the softwares that talk to QuickBooks, like Design Files, Mydoma. And I know
So
that's
just to
growing.
let you know, just because I'm a numbers nerd, we have 42% of our clients are interior designers. So yeah, right. We support Mydoma, House Pro, Design Files, and then also Studio Designer.
I heard
Currently,
about
those are
that one.
four.
Congratulations
Yeah,
on that one. That one's
thank
not
you.
easy.
Yes, so we're supporting 4 right now.
Okay, awesome. All right, everyone. So go over to above Colleen's head. Carleen. I always call you Colleen instead of Carleen because I have other
It's the New
Colleens
York
in my life.
accent. That's
I
okay.
know. Carleen's website, c2-accttg.com. It's above her head. And go check out her services of her team. They are amazing. We get no complaints about Carleen's team of bookkeepers and Carleen herself, which is always involved in all the clients. So I appreciate you, my dear.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great one, everyone.
All right. Bye, everyone. Go have a great
Bye.
Wednesday night. Bye.